Luke Phil was a typical 13-year-old from Dubuque, Iowa, brimming with energy, but stuck in that awkward stage where summer days stretched endlessly with little to do. Video games and the couch were his usual haunts, but one humid July afternoon in 2023, he decided he'd had enough. Inspired by YouTube videos of tiny homes, those clever, compact houses that promised freedom and simplicity, Luke made up his mind. He'd build one in his family's backyard, not just a shed, but a real house, his house. It wasn't an easy dream. Building a home, even a tiny one, required money, materials, and know-how, none of which Luke had in abundance. But he had grit, and that was a start. He pitched the idea to his parents over dinner. His dad, Greg, a carpenter by trade, grinned wide. "Better than rotting your brain on that Xbox," he said, clapping Luke on the shoulder. His mom, Karen, was more cautious but agreed to let him try, as long as he figured it out himself. "It'll teach you something," she said. And so, with their blessing but no cash handout, Luke's journey began. First came the money problem. An 89-square-foot house, his target size, needed lumber, nails, wiring, and more. Luke did the math. He'd need at least $1,500. He wasn't about to let that stop him. Armed with a rusty lawnmower, he knocked on neighbors' doors, offering to cut grass for $10 a yard. Some said yes out of pity. Others saw the spark in his eye and tossed in an extra $5. He set up a crowdfunding page online, posting a shaky video explaining his plan. "I'm Luke, and I'm building a tiny house because I want to make something real." Donations trickled in, $20 here, $50 there. He ran errands too, grabbing groceries for Mrs. Henderson down the street or hauling trash for Mr. Patel. One family friend, Tom, offered a deal. Clean out his cluttered garage, and he'd help wire the house later. Luke spent a sweaty weekend sorting junk, emerging triumphant with a promise and a sore back. Materials were next. Luke got creative, scouring the neighborhood for cast-offs. He scored big when a neighbor replaced their front door. Luke hauled the old one home, sanded it down, and made it his own. His grandma's garage turned into a treasure trove. Rusted hinges, a cracked window pane, even a dented electric griddle he'd use for a kitchen. "Take it," she said, laughing. "I haven't cooked on that thing since the 90s. By the end of the year, 75% of his house came from recycled goods. It wasn't pretty yet, but it was his. Building started slow. Luke relied on YouTube tutorials, hours of them, learning to frame walls, hammer nails straight, and measure twice like his dad always said. He sketched his design on graph paper, a living room with a couch and TV, a kitchen nook, and a lofted bed reachable by a ladder. No plumbing. He'd figure that out later, or not. The backyard became his workshop, a mess of sawdust and ambition. His first wall went up crooked, and he tore it down, cursing under his breath. But he kept going. "It's not about perfect," he told himself. "It's about done." Setbacks hit hard. One ambitious weekend, Luke decided to craft a countertop from stained glass and liquid glaze, a slick idea he'd seen online. He studied the process, mixed the glaze, and poured it into a mold. Disaster struck. The glaze leaked through a crack, pooling on the grass in a sticky, shimmering mess. Most kids would have quit. Luke sat there, staring at the ruin, then grabbed a rag and started over. "Mistakes happen," he muttered. "I'll get it right next time." He didn't, not with the glaze, but he switched to a salvaged wood plank instead, sanding it smooth. Good enough. Word spread. Neighbors peeked over fences, curious about the kid with the hammer. Luke, tired of explaining, started a YouTube channel, Luke's Tiny Build, to keep everyone updated. His first video was shaky, his voice cracking. Day 12, got the floor done. It's not much, but it's mine. Views climbed, 50, then 500. Comments poured in. "This kid's a legend." And "Keep going, Luke." The attention felt weird, but it fueled him. Then the media caught wind. One day, the school principal called him to the office, not for trouble, but to chat about an interview. A reporter, a friend of the principal's, had seen his videos. Soon, Luke's story hit the Dubuque Telegraph-Herald, front page. Teen builds tiny home from scratch. He was humbled, but the house wasn't done. A big break came when Tiny Fest Midwest reached out. The festival, a celebration of small living, invited Luke to speak about his project. He just earned a public speaking merit badge in Scouts, so he said yes without blinking. Standing before a crowd of tiny home fans, he shared his trials, crooked walls, leaky glaze, and all. "It's not easy," he said, "but it's worth it." The audience clapped. A few wiped tears. Back home, the house neared completion. The living room got a thrift store couch. The kitchen boasted that griddle, and the loft held a mattress he'd dragged up himself. No toilet, plumbing was beyond his budget and skill, but he shrugged it off. "I've got the house next door for that," he joked. A year after starting, Luke filmed a tour for YouTube. "This is it," he said, panning across his 89-square-foot masterpiece. "My castle." His parents were floored. Greg teared up. Karen hugged him tight. They let him sleep there a few nights a week and do homework under the loft's glow. The video exploded, 100,000 views in days. Local TV stations aired it. Then Good Morning America showed up, cameras rolling as Luke grinned sheepishly. "I just wanted something to do," he told them. Fame snowballed. The Des Moines Register ran a feature, and a surprise came when Derek Dietrichson, a tiny home designer Luke idolized, messaged him. "You're the real deal, kid." They swapped emails, becoming online pals. Luke's mind reeled. He'd inspired his hero. The ripple effect grew. Luke's younger brother, Cole, caught the bug, launching his own project, a teardrop camper built from reclaimed wood. Like Luke, he'd document it on their now shared YouTube channel, which soared past 9,000 subscribers. Cole had one edge, a big brother with experience to guide him. Luke branched out too, showcasing other DIYers, his mom's 1970s camper redo, a neighbor's sheep herder wagon. He was no longer just a kid with a hammer. He was a building sensation. Looking back, Luke never imagined this. It started as a shed-like whim, a cure for boredom. Now, with college on his horizon, he's focused on school, but still dreaming. "I want kids to see this," he says in his latest video, voice steady now. "You don't need to be old or rich to build something real. Just start." His tiny house stands as proof, a scrappy, recycled testament to what happens when a 13-year-old dares to dream big.